Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very special entry in the Wartilio series. My name is Lance, and today I have gotten hold of some leaks for the new Blades of Khorne book for 4th edition, and I can't wait to go over this with you guys. This is a pseudo review. I'm just reacting as I see it, for the first time, or I've browsed a few of these things, a few of the entries, but I don't totally know everything yet. But yeah. Welcome to the commentary train. So let's start off here with some faction rules, battle traits. The first one we have is Blood Drenched. It says you can use the ability of at least half the number of units on both player army rosters combined have been destroyed. So if you have 14, then if 7 units have been destroyed, then Blood Drenched gets activated for the whole army. First, you ignore positive to save rolls for friendly Blades of Khorne units, which makes our rend really good and super useless against Night Haunt as per usual. Next, blood hungry weapons used by bloodbound units have crit mortals. Okay, that's kind of wild. Next, weapons of murder. Add 1 to rend characteristics of blood hungry weapons used by friendly Blades of Khorne non-monster demons. Sad, so bloodthirsters don't get that. Including blood hungry companion weapons. And lastly, +1 damage of blood hungry weapons used by Blades of Khorne monster units. So hopefully bloodthirsters get blood hungry weapons. So yeah, it's +1 rend, ignore save modifiers, and crit mortals and +1 damage, which I think is pretty good. A late game ability for sure, or an early game one if you can find some way to cheat getting half your army killed or killing half your opponent's army. Next, blood for the blood gods are usual. Every time a unit is destroyed, you get a blood tithe. And I think this is the new one, right? Skulls for the Skull Throne. What they did was they replaced the blood tithe mechanic that they had for the past 2 editions and replaced it with a Total War-esque skill tree. So at the very beginning, you start with Murderlust, which costs 0. And you can spend 1 blood tithe once you get it to unlock Divine Scorn or Punish the Pacifist. You don't get both. You get one or the other. And if you get Divine Scorn, you get to move on to Murder the Mystic or Glorious Combat or not. Or if you go from Punish the Pacifist, you get access to Revel in Battle, but you don't get access to Murder the Mystic. Lastly, you get to move either to Slaughter Triumphant and Cleave the Wide Grin of Khorne. And that's basically where you start out. Like, that's how you can progress. But it says here that if you unlock a Blood type ability, it does not lock you out of the other abilities in the same tier. So, for example, if I wanted to unlock Revel in Battle, I could also unlock Murder the Mystic later on. It just means that for me to access this Cleave Wide the Grin of Khorne, I need to unlock Revel in Battle or Glorious Combat or not. Onto the fun stuff. Murderlust. So this ability has been like the defining battle trait for Blades of Khorne for the past 2 editions. But as of right now, it's basically gone. Or it's completely changed. Instead of it being allow you to move into combat during your opponent's hero or movement phase, now you get to re-roll a die for charging in exchange for taking D3 mortal damage. I think this ability is really good because if you want to do a counter charge, then you get re-roll one of the dice. And not just that, but if you want to get into combat, you get to do a reroll with Forward to Victory, and you get to use this in case you roll 2 dice, and one of them is like a 6, right? And the other one's a 1, or whatever. So, Khorne, this ability lets Khorne get, like, really consistent at charging. Not only that, but you could also technically use this to kill one of your own units on purpose in case you want to farm Blood Tithe. And you can use that on a counter charge, which is very unorthodox, but technically something you can do to force gaining Blood Tithe for your next hero phase. Next, let's go over the ones before we go over the other ones. Next, Divine Scorn. Pick up to 3 enemy wizards or priests within 6 inches of any Blades of Khorne units to be the targets. You roll a die for each target. On a 3+, subtract 1 from the target's power level to a minimum of 0 until the start of the next turn. Okay, I think this one's very cute, and the fact that this is free once you've unlocked it is really, really good. On paper, as a one-time thing, if you're thinking about the way Blood Tithe used to be used as a one-time thing, it's not that good, but the fact that it's once per turn, start of any turn, means that you could technically reduce the power level of... Oh no, it's until the start of the next turn. Okay, so no, you can reduce it by 1 maximum. I thought you could chain to reduce it by 2. That's too bad. It would have been... It's funny. But what's really cool is if your opponent has lots of power 1 wizards, you can stop them from doing magical intervention or from casting at all on their turn. Punish the Pacifist. It's in the combat phase. Each friendly and enemy manifestation does not combat to be a target. Roll a die. On a 1 and 2, inflict 1 mortal damage on each target. On a 3, inflict 1 mortal damage on each enemy target. Okay, so on a 1 and 2, you hurt yourself. On the 3+, you hurt only your enemies. Oh, that's kind of cool. The fact that it distinguishes manifestations is also really funny. Next, Murder the Mystic. You can pick up to 4 enemy manifestations to be the targets. Not as relevant as it was in first season, but sure. You can make a banishment roll for the targets. If it equals or exceeds the banishment value listed in the manifestation's war scroll, you inflict D3 mortal damage on each enemy unit within 3 inches of it, and then it's banished and removed from play. I think that this is pretty hilarious. I think that you can only affect... It's not gonna stack, right? Because it's the same ability doing the damage over and over again. But I think this makes for a very interesting bomb. If your opponent's like playing super tightly put together, you combo this later with a prayer that does damage, and you can actually deal a surprising amount of damage in the hero phase. This only works in your hero phase though, but it's still pretty good. Glorious Combat or Not. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for shooting attacks at target Blades of Khorne units. I think this is very niche, and that's why it's in like the middle of the skill tree, because it's probably the weakest of the 3. Unless you're fighting KO, then it's really funny. Next, Revel in Battle. Other than companion weapon abilities for combat attacks made by enemy units that charge this turn that target a friendly Blades of Khorne have no effect. I think that this is so good. This basically takes the place of what Murderlust used to do, where you deny cavalry charges. But this also works on like say Varangard or Chosen, anything that does crit mortals or crit 2 hits or anything of that insane sort. Crit auto wound. Revel in Battle is probably the strongest one I've seen. Value for money, I mean. Value for points. So it's effectively going to cost 4 points to get it because you have to pay for Punish the Pacifist. So yeah, Revel Battle's really good. Very big update. Makes Khorne very resilient, especially if you're focusing on an army that has lots of 3-up saves. Being able to deny your opponent's mortal damage on the charge is pretty crazy. For 4 points, you have Slaughter's Triumphant, which is a passive. You add 1 to the attack characteristics of weapons used by friendly Blades of Khorne units that charge in the same turn. Basically getting like the Mark of Khorne from Slaves of Darkness. This one's okay. It's really good, but it's okay. Lastly, Cleave Wide the Grin of Khorne. +1 to hit rolls for combat attacks made by friendly Blades of Khorne units. Really good ability. 4 blood type points. The last 2 have material impact, but they're probably going to appear late in the game. And it really is going to be a challenge for the Khorne player to build their lists in such a way that you can consistently unlock these by sacrificing units over the course of the game. But let's move on to battle formations. Khornate Legion looks the same with a nerf, because it used to be pick a demon unit, then pick a bloodbound unit to fight right after within 12 inches, but now it's wholly within, so that is a straight nerf. Next, Drawn to Carnage. Brass Stampede was almost never used in early 4th edition, and even 3rd edition. I don't see it very much. But now it's add X to charge rolls for friendly Blades of Khorne units, where X is the number of friendly Blades of Khorne cavalry or monsters that have already charged this phase. So I think it's interesting because not only does it work for cavalry, but it also works for Bloodthirsters now. So if it charged, it can give +1 or plus whatever to the charge rolls of friendly Blades of Khorne units, and I kind of like this. I still think the synergy between demons and mortals is best with Khornate Legion, but let's see what else we got here. Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by bloodbound units that target an enemy unit contesting an objective you don't control. Okay, this looks about the same. Next, Murder Host. This used to be 5-up ward save after fighting, but now it's each Blades of Khorne demon unit that has used the fight ability this turn is not in combat can move D6. It can't move the move in combat. This actually seems pretty bad on paper, but I think there's a few interesting tricks you can do with it. Like you can power through and then do it. And if you're able to, you know, kill an enemy unit, you can form screens and whatever and move closer or take objectives with it as an additional move in case you want to be able to power through. But this one's really hard because it means that you have to wipe your opponent. As of right now, and you know, this is without any studying whatsoever, Murder Host seems like the worst one. I still like Coordinate Legion a lot. Brass Stampede has potential. Tireless Conquerors is probably going to be popular, but if you can't pick this on top of the Army of Renown that we'll talk about later, then maybe it's not that good. Heroic traits. First, subtract 1 from casting rolls for wizards while they're within 12, and subtract 1 from priests. It's okay. It's leaning toward a lot of like control Khorne, like the other battle trait that we looked at earlier had some control-y aspects. This one adds to that. Frenzied Taskmaster. During your movement phase, you can pick an infantry or cavalry unit within the combat range and not in combat to be the target. So you can move an additional d6, but if you end the move within this unit's combat range, you inflict damage equal to the roll. Okay, it's an extra move. I think this is interesting shenanigans. Unfortunately, it doesn't work for Bloodthirsters. So if you want to Alpha Strike with this, maybe you can do it to an infantry unit. I don't know. They're basically giving the Bloodmaster's ability for run and charge with... No, it's just extra d6. I don't like it. It's not very reliable. Could be the best one, though. Skull Collector. If any damage points were allocated to an enemy hero by this unit's combat attacks this turn, and the enemy hero has been destroyed, add 1 to the attack characteristics of this unit's melee weapon for the rest of the battle. This unit can be affected by this ability multiple times and the effects are cumulative. Okay. As someone who loves Bloodthirsters, this is my favorite one by a mile. I want to have a 10 attack Bloodthirster. So he just needs to start hunting heroes. And then especially in this meta where you have people who are doing 5 drops, there's a lot of heroes to hunt. Artifacts of Power. Oh, they removed the one where you start with 1 Blood Tithe. Rest in peace. Favorite of Khorne. Someone, I guess my list will look a bit different now. Artifacts of Power. Color of Contempt, same thing. Wizard can use an Unbind as if it had Wizard and can deal D3 if it unbinds. Butcher's Blade. End of turn. You pick at each enemy unit that has any damage points allocated to this. To it this turn by this unit's combat attacks will be the targets. On a D3, 2+, inflict mortal damage equal to the roll. So it's there to finish people off. You can do this, then power through. So if your opponent's left with like 6 health, you still have some way to kill them off. And of course, finally, Argath, the King of Blades, the goated artifact for Blades of Khorne, in my opinion. Ward rolls cannot be made for enemy heroes while they're in combat with this unit. This is kind of an interesting side grade because in the previous incarnation, it was a combat ability. You picked one enemy hero and that they couldn't make ward saves for the rest of the turn. But now, it's only if you're in combat with this unit, which means that you could start not in combat with a hero, pile in, then turn off their wards. But the downside on this one for me, is that if for whatever reason your hero powers through, leaves combat, or dies, then the unit gets their ward back. So it does have an effect if your opponent is a bit savvy with how they allocate damage or the order in which they do things. So Argath is good. Can target multiple heroes as well at the same time, which is great. But interesting side grade, there is some power, there's some play around it now. Make sure that the unit that has Argath is alive. Prayer Lores. Okay, so everything is on a 4 now, which I think is good. And just scrolling through it, what I like is now that the chanting roll is super powered on 8+, which is thematically appropriate. And less confusing, because in the past, like, it was like 2 prayers had an 8+ supercharge and one has a 10+, so this is good. Uncontrollable Rage. Until the start of your next turn, the effect of Blood Trenched ability applied to the target. In addition, if the chanting roll is 8+, ignore the effect of Wide Eyed Brutality on the target. This is the unlimited prayer. What does that mean? Wide Eyed Brutality. Oh, okay. So it means that you get your Blood Drenched effect, and you also your opponent also can't use positive save modifiers, which I think is really good. So cover becomes irrelevant, and any +1 to save bonuses that they want to stack become irrelevant, which I think is good. Within 12, priest within 12 inches, so I guess for mid to late game, the priest needs to start moving forward. So yeah, Realm Gore Ritualist, Slaughter Priest, probably going to see more play. Blood Boil, same as before, I hope. Yeah, it's exactly the same. It's 18 inches, pick visible enemy unit. On a 5+, 1 mortal damage for each model in the unit. You roll dice equal to the number of models in the unit, and for each 5+, you deal 1 mortal damage. Okay, that one's fun. Next, Final Act of Violence. Okay, cool name. Pick a friendly Blades of Khorne priest to chant his prayer. Pick a visible friendly Blades of Khorne unit wholly within 12, sure. Until the start of your next turn, each time a model in the target unit is slain by a combat attack, and that model was in combat with the attacking unit, roll a die. If the chanting roll was 8+, roll 2 dice instead. So on a 5+, you inflict 1 mortal damage on the attacking unit after the fight has been resolved. I think that this is a cool prayer, because us losing the ability to give extra rend is fine, because Blood Blessings of Khorne is just a better version of that. And our ability to reduce power level by 1 is fine because we have a new battle trait for it. This one basically makes it so that your chaff want to die, and it makes it so that Blood Reavers are especially good chaff to get killed, because imagine killing 10 of them in one go and you roll 20 dice. For every 5-up, that's a mortal damage. On average, it's like 6 mortal damage, which I think is pretty great. Next, Manifestation Lores. Okay. Let's see. No, these aren't descriptions. This is 12 inches. The bleeding icon can now be set up within 18 inches. That's kind of cool. Yeah, everything else looks about the same. So it's... Oh, wait. Where are the abilities on these? Oh, I guess we'll see them later on in the Warscrolls. Okay, off to Warscrolls then. Scarbrand. Everything looks about the same so far, except but now look at this. Slaughter is blood hungry, which means that if you're able to trigger the prayer or the ability from the ability, this guy becomes 5 damage per swing. And while this unit so he no longer gets +1/+2 to his attacks when he takes 10 or more damage, or if he didn't use a fight ability last turn. He just becomes blood drenched naturally, so they become 5 damage per swing for 4 attacks. And he ignores positive modifiers. And the thing is, the way this is worded, it seems that, and I'm not sure if this is right or not, but does that also mean that Carnage ignores positive modifiers? Let's scroll up for a bit and take a look. No, so yeah, so you ignore positive modifiers even with the 8 damage one. So this is a massive buff for Scarbrand for sure. He also retains his 3d6 charge, which you can use or combo with Murderlust, which you can reroll 1 of the 3 dice, as far as I think. And Roar of Total Rage is 3 dice or number of dice equal to the number of damage, which means you could also use Murderlust to deal more damage to Scarbrand to trigger more Roar of Total Rage over time. So overall, I think Big Boy might see some play, especially since they took out the rule that you can recur Bloodthirsters. This actually makes Scarbrand a lot more competitive, and I'm glad to see the best boy come back. Wrath of Khorne Bloodthirster. This looks about the same so far, except that this is Blood Hungry now, which I think is great. +1 to hit rolls for this unit attacks that target enemy hero. So instead of giving... Ooh, no, that's not true. So that's really good. So he hits on 2s against heroes. This is a net buff. Next, he still has his hero slaying thing, where if he rolls 8 dice, 4-up mortal wounds, combat phase, against enemy heroes, roll 8 dice for every 4-up 1 mortal damage, which is great. Note for Wrathful Dominance, you also get +1 to hit on Hellfire Breath in case your opponent has guarded hero in short range, which you will be in 8 inches. So you essentially ignore that, making this guy a much more efficient hero killing machine. Commander of Tyrants, once per turn. Pick another friendly, non-unique Blades of Khorne demon unit to be the target. This is a net buff, because... Okay, oh well, it's different, right? So, in the past, you'd pick 3 Bloodthirsters, but that's always tough, because it's very hard to form a list with 4 Bloodthirsters, or it was very niche. But now, you get to pick a visible, not friendly, non-unique Blades of Khorne demon unit to be the target, meaning you could target Bloodleathers and give them +1 attack for the rest of the turn, which I think is pretty nuts. If they still have crit mortals later, then it kind of takes them over the edge and makes them really strong. It also makes Fleshhounds randomly threatening, which... against small heroes, which is hilarious. Boom Thirster, favorite unit in all the Khorne book. Let's see what you got. 5 attacks, 3 2, okay, about the same. Each time you score a crit, it's D3 mortal damage. Okay, it's about the same. And everything is the same with this guy, no changes. So let's just move on. Wrath, Bloodthirster of Unfettered Fury. Oh wait, sorry. Yeah, it's Blood Hungry. Okay, that's a buff technically. Blood Hungry as well. Combat stats are about the same. Pick a friendly, non-unique Blades of Khorne demon unit to be the target. Okay, yeah, so it's 3d6, but now for the rest of the turn, when making a charge roll for the target, roll an additional die to a maximum of 3 and discard 1 die of your choice. This is a net nerf. He no longer gives demons a 3d6 charge. Let me just check Scarbrand in case I missed that wording. No, Scarbrand is superior because it's 3d6, but this guy, you discard 1 die of your choice, so still a maximum of 12, not as good. Massive nerfs, big L's for this guy. And next, Ensnaring Lash. Pick an enemy monster in combat with this unit. If the target's in combat with this unit, when picking the fight ability, it must pick this unit to be the target of pile-ins and -1 to hit and wounds. Okay, that's about the same. Still good, but the nerf to the 3d6 charge makes it much worse. Skull Taker. Combat stats look about the same. Of course, everything's basically blood hungry at this point. Pick an enemy hero in combat with this unit to be the target. Strike first is the same. If the enemy hero has any damage points allocated to it, the unit combat attack is destroyed. You heal the unit if you kill an enemy unit. Oh, you heal it to full when it kills a hero. That's kind of cool. You don't know, instead of just getting an extra blood type when killing a hero. Next, pick an enemy hero. This unit has used the fight ability this turn. Remove this target from the battlefield. Set up again in the battlefield in combat with the target, and not in combat with any other targets. Pick an enemy hero that used... What the hell? This ability is crazy. So if an enemy hero used the fight ability this turn to be the target, you can remove Skull Taker from the battlefield and set it up again on the battlefield in combat with the target and not in combat with any other target units. That's insane. That basically is like... This makes him the ultimate assassin, because if an enemy hero fights, you can teleport this guy to combat with them, and if it's your turn, or regardless of whose turn it is next, he gets strike first against them and has a solid chance of killing them because he's got Ren 3 against heroes. That is such a bonkers once per game ability that almost ensures an assassination. I think Skull Taker will be taken a lot more. He is a very good hero. He's probably going to snipe out like a city's hero or something, which I think is great. Next, Bloodmaster, Herald of Khorne. Pick a friendly blood unit that has not fought this turn. If it's picked, add 1 to hit rolls. Okay, so instead of reducing ward saves by 1, it adds +1 to hit rolls, which is a lot more consistent, and much more usable ability. Blood Leathers. 2, 3, 3s, this is the same. They removed the ability to recur D3 models, which makes me very sad. If this unit's in combat can move 3 inches, it can pass through combat ranges and units must end the turn in combat. So it's just a second pile-in, effectively. Makes me a bit sad, but it is what it is. Hopefully the points cost get reduced to reflect this. Blood Crushers. So now it's got crit mortals. It's still 1 attack. It doesn't have +1 charge, so it's still different from the Scourge of Garan version. It's anti-cavalry Rend 1 with the Juggernauts. Sure. If the unmodified charge roll is 8+, it can pass through enemy units. Enemy cavalry units pass through by this unit cannot make pile-in moves. That's interesting. I can see it as being cute tech, but I don't personally like it that much. Because you still need to roll an 8+ on the charge. I guess it's a lot more consistent with Murderlust now. And there's a way for you to cut cavalry. It's an MSU of this is good tech if you're fighting in a cavalry meta. Skull Cannon. Love and hate this thing. 4 shots, 3s and 2s. Instead of D3 damage, it's now straight 2 damage at Rend 1. Hellblade's about the same. It looks about the same. Subtract 3 from control score, and it can shoot after fighting. Yeah, same thing. Unless they reduce the points, it's really not that worth it, in my opinion. Karanak. Pick an enemy unit to be Quarry, same as before. While this unit is within 12 inches of fresh round unit, add to the charge rolls. Okay. Yeah, this is the same ability. What's this? Pick this unit and friendly Fleshhound unit to be the targets. Remove the targets from the battlefield. So you can teleport itself and the Fleshhound unit. And set them up again on the battlefield more than 6 inches away from the unit's quarry. And more than 9 inches away from enemy units. The unit of Fleshhounds must also be set up within 12 inches. Okay, so I think that this one is pretty cool. Because it means that if your opponent's isolated, then you can just teleport this unit. And then set up within 6, outside of 6. And they all get +2 to charge rolls. So that's interesting. But what's weird is that the Fleshhounds lose their +2 to charge. So this is the only unit that gets a +2 to its charge. So it basically teleports a Fleshhound unit with it, then gets isolated again. I mean, it's cute. It's okay. And if you want to score early Blood Tithe, I guess that's really good. And it seems that the Demon side has a lot of tools for eliminating heroes early on, which is great. Next, Fleshhounds. Same stats. They lost their ability to get +1 rend against wizards. But because they're blood hungry, this is a net buff anyway. Control score of 1 because they're beasts. Next, if the casting roll of an enemy wizard within 12 inches contains 2 or more results, or 1 or 2, the spell's miscast. So if you roll a 4, it's basically a miscast. A 2, 3, and a 4 on spell casting is a miscast now, which is cute. I like that they're leaning more into the theme of Khorne, hating wizards this much. If the chanting roll of a priest is unmodified 2, then it fails. So in addition to it failing on a 1, it fails on a 2. And I think that this is really good tech for locking down certain priests which are really strong, like Zenestra, for example. Claws of Karanak. We're transitioning over to mortals because we're doing the guys who dress like demons. Okay, it still has the pre-game move, 3 attacks. Blood Hungry, net buff to the unit. Next, while this unit's wholly within 12 inches of Fleshhounds, crits on 5s. Okay, this is about the same. Nothing crazy, but Blood Hungry does create, increase the imagination for what's good. Herald on Blood Throne. Okay, this unit used to summon back demons, but I think it's not doing that this time. Instead, you pick a friendly unit within 3 inches to be the target. You can allocate 3 damage to the target. You can't make wards. Then you can add 1 to the unit power level, so making it a level 2 priest. So I guess it's kind of cool if you want to banish manifestations or pray twice. But straight 3 damage is really painful. This unit has a 4+ ward against damage inflicted by spells and manifestations. Oh, well, this has to be really cheap for it to be good. Otherwise, it feels okay. I guess getting a consistent Blood Boil off is not bad, or consistent Blood Drenched is not bad. Because the prayers are good. But, it's okay. Bloodstoker. The ferocious whippy boy. Pick a friendly non-hero bloodbound unit within combat range to be target. It can get run and charge. So it's really interesting because you can give them run and charge, and you can give this guy the heroic trait to move extra d6. So you can effectively have a unit, a mortal unit, moving +12 if you roll hot enough. That's kind of cute. But of course, remember to use Whip the Fury before you use the heroic trait, or else they'll be out of combat range. Next, Korgorath. Is this unit finally good? 5 attacks, 4... So no commands. Subtract 3 from control for non-monsters. Still dog. Still not great, unfortunately. It's not even blood drenched. My god, it's not even blood hungry or blood drenched, which makes it very sad. So this unit is bad. GW should just legend this at this point. The model is really cool, but it's not doing any favors for itself. Okay, Mighty Lord of Khorne. The stats look about the same, except this is blood hungry, which is nice. Add 1 to wound rolls for bloodbound. Okay, this is really good now. He adds +1 to... It's a net +1 to wound roll for all bloodbound infantry units while they're within 12. Crazy. And he can pick a bloodbound infantry hero, wholly within 12 inches to be target to get strike first. This guy becomes an almost must pick for the army of Renown, I think. But we'll talk about that a bit later. Because it's focused solely around like the Gorechosen and bloodbound heroes being really good. Blood Secretor, Mr. Banner Boy. If a blood +3 to rally, same as before, and +1 to attacks once per game. Okay, they didn't change anything about this guy. Cool. Realm Gore Ritualist. +1 to wound rolls for combat attacks made by bloodbound units while they're within 12 inches of the terrain or objective feature that it marks. Okay, +1 to wound is really cool. I think that it works really well with mortals. We need to find other sources of +1 to hit. I think the change was made because they're trying to make all-out attack. You know, they're trying to make it harder to subvert all-out attack or go around it rather. It's fine, I guess. Instead of having one attack that deals d6 damage, it has two attacks that deal d3. Sure, that's fine. 5-up save, 2 control. Okay, it's about the same. Nothing crazy. Next, Skull Grinder, Wrecking Ball Guy, and Slaughter Priest. Anti-monster, Blood Hungry. You can give +1 rend to another hero, which I think is gonna make for some weird combinations, but still, by himself, this guy is not very good. Pick an enemy unit in combat with this target, with this unit to be the target. You roll a die. Oh wow. If it exceeds the control score, it gets strike last. So instead of it being like a guy who can give monsters strike last, he's far more reliable now in dealing with infantry units because you can give them strike last. This is actually pretty good now because you can. This is like initiative control in my Khorne army. So if my opponent charges me, I can give them strike last, which is kind of, it's really good actually. It's, wow, Skull Grinder is like really good now. 3+ save, all that. Mortal unit lovers are eating well today. Slaughter Priest, about the same stats. Can unbind this if it has Wizard 1, same. And now Blood Sacrifice. Instead of it gaining Blood Tithe, it now only gains a ritual point. Wow, this is the biggest downgrade I've seen so far. It's only power level 1, so I'm probably not going to be taking the Slaughter Priest anytime soon, which is very unfortunate. Deathbringer. Okay, the new model. Let's see what you do. I think they're going to get rid of Exalted Deathbringer and the, whatchamacallit, Aspiring Deathbringer, and just making him Deathbringer, making it less confusing. So saves on a 3+. You roll a die. On a 5-up, it denies command abilities, and it's not once per turn within 8 inches. Really crazy. Killer of Kings. You pick an enemy hero, you roll 2d6, and you kill it. Oh. Each target. Pick each enemy unit and manifestation in combat. Holy crap! So it can pick it picks every unit in combat with it. If you roll higher than their health value, you kill a model from that unit. This is insane. Holy crap. I can see this guy killing, like, if you're in combat with like 4 units, like most of them cavalry, you just need to roll a 4-up and 2d6. That is nuts. This guy is crazy. I love it. Then you can power through after that, you know, just to show disrespect, which is hilarious. Next, the Blood Warriors. While this unit's contesting an objective you don't control, it has 5-up ward. Holy crap. They got rid of the Ren 2/2 damage weapon, which is sad. Now it's all 1 damage, 1 attack. But like, these guys got so tanky because now I can murderless charge into combat. Not just that, but if I start on the objective and then murderless charge into an opponent, and an objective I don't control, like, I get a 5-up ward. This is crazy. Plus them being blood hungry and possibly getting crit mortals when you activate the ability makes Blood Warriors so good. Okay, so it's still 1 out of 10, meaning the MSU is still 10. But they're selling the starter box in boxes of 5. GW, help me understand why you're doing this. Blood Reavers, +1 to charge it, +1 to rend if you charge. Fine, it's about the same thing. And these guys, D3 mortal wounds on the charge. The stat block is about the same, except now they're blood hungry. The blood hungry on Reavers is also kind of cute. So everything becomes like kind of lethal or deadly later down the line once you unlock the stronger abilities. Okay. Wrathmongers and Skull Reapers, some of my favorite units. While this unit's in combat, +1 attack to Bloodbound within 12, fine. Alright, Blood Fury. They removed the thing where you deal mortal damage to enemies that attack the Wrathmongers. Makes me a little sad, but, you know, they are blood hungry now, which is great. Pick a visible enemy model within 3 inches of this unit to be the target. Both players roll off. If you win the roll off, pick a melee weapon that the target is armed with. Your opponent must pick a visible unit in their army within 3 inches. Your opponent must resolve combat attacks for the target using the melee weapon you picked against the unit they picked. Pick a visible enemy model in 3 target. Your opponent must pick a visible unit in their army within 3 inches of the target. They can pick the target's own unit, and even okay, so this is weird. So that means that I can pick. Sorry, I need to think about this. So if I'm in combat with Usharan, if I win the roll off, I get to pick its mace, and I can pick a visible unit in their army within 3 inches. So I can make a unit whack another unit with the Wrathmongers. I think this is goofy. It makes the Wrathmongers so funny into castles, I guess. And really good for distracting monsters and having monsters hit their own teammates, which is hilarious. Skull Reapers. Oh my god, they got rid of the crit mortals, but now it's crit 2 hits. Ooh. I guess you can still activate it with the prayer, right? But that's painful. Oh, they got rid of the debuff where they're only control 1. Now they're 1 control per model, and they get +8 to control while they're in combat, which is really good. But these guys need a point drop, because while it's kind of good, it's not as good as it used to be. Okay, sure. Okay, off the manifestations. Wrath Axe. If this manifestation charges turn, you pick a unit with a greater with a size greater than 1. Roll 2d6 and 8 plus 1 model unit is slain. I kind of like it. It's cute. It's still not great, but it's now 4 attacks instead of 3 attacks, hitting on 4s instead. It saves on a 5 now, showing that only the universal manifestations get cut by the 6-up save. Hex Gorger Skulls. Let's see if you're still useless. -1 to casting rolls. Still bad. Only really usable for trying to zone out opponents, trying to deep strike, I guess. Bleeding Icon. Pick a visible friendly Blades of Khorne unit wholly within 8 inches of the manifestation to be the target, then pick a Blood Tithe ability that you have not unlocked this battle. Roll a die. If the roll equals or exceeds the Blood Tithe point cost for the chosen ability, until the start of your next turn, the target can use the chosen ability as if it had been unlocked. I think that this one's interesting because if you give this to Revel, or if you give Slaughter Triumphant to it or something like that, it can have some interesting interaction in the game. Like, if you give this to a unit that you want to screen and you want to turn off your opponent's weapons abilities, this thing is okay. I think it's good. I just have to get used to it not doing the combat point denial like it always has. Next. Skull Altar. Birds of Hate. Let's see. It looks mostly the same. Looks the same. If this terrain feature has an invoker, pick up to D3 endless spells within 18 inches of the terrain feature to be the targets and make a banishment roll for each target. So for each, if any endless spells are banished by this ability, you gain 1 Blood Tithe point. Wow. Okay, so this thing got a net nerf. It no longer gives a 5-up spell ward to heroes, but it now punishes your opponent from having endless spells out at all. Not that they needed any, motivation, because endless spells are not particularly great right now. So that's interesting. And it says endless spells, not manifestations, meaning I think it only works on spells and not like prayer manifestations, right? So the Dock ones aren't affected. Other Khorne ones aren't affected. This is not an endless spell. This is like the Bleeding Icon is a manifestation, not an endless spell. So that distinction will have to be made, and I think that's really interesting. Yeah, gaining Blood Tithe points for this is not bad, but it's not as good. I can see myself not taking the Skull Altar to every game now. And let's move over to Army of Renown, Gorechosen Champions. You can only use Mighty Lord of Khorne, Slaughter Priests, any Blood Secretors, any Blood Stokers, any Realm Gore Ritualists, Skull Grinders, Deathbringers, Bloodbound Warmongers. Okay. So far, there's no Gorechosen of Drum, by the way. Like, all the Underworld Warbands are not in here, so just a side mental note for people thinking about buying the new weird mouthed ones. Gorechosen Champions. Pick a friendly Gorechosen Champions hero to be the target. You can give them an extra artifact. Pretty cool. You give it during the deployment phase, not the army composition. Gorechosen Champions have a 4-up ward. Okay, really good. Really sexy. Hate-fueled killers. If a friendly Gorechosen champion would be destroyed before removing it from play, roll a die on a 5+. It's not destroyed, and any remaining damage points on it have no effect. It heals once. So, and it's not just once. So that means that every time a Gorechosen champion is to be destroyed, you have to get through a 4-up ward and a 5-up. Yeah, just kidding. I ignore that. That is kind of insane. Each time friendly Bloodstoker uses Whip to Fury, another friendly Gorechosen champion hero within its combat range can be picked to be the target of that ability instead of a non-hero Bloodbound unit. Okay, so you can pick a Gorechosen to have the run and charge. Okay, sure. That's fine. So they're trying to make the Justice League, essentially. Like, they want to make a bunch of Gorechosens under a Mighty Lord of Khorne be the general. And you only have one Mighty Lord of Khorne, which I think is interesting. Legendary Slayers. Blood-hungry weapons used by friendly Gorechosen champion units have crit mortals. Wow. Okay, so they're just straight crit mortals, which I think is funny. Next, heroic trait. Add 20 to this unit's control score while it's in combat. That's so funny. So you're in combat with the Gargant. You're like, no, my objective. Artifacts of Khorne. Pick up to D3 friendly Gorechosen champions units with this units within this combat range to be the targets. Targets have strike first for the rest of the turn, once per battle. Yeah, really good, really fun, considering you have 2 artifacts. Next, inflict D3 mortal damage on this unit for discarding Blade. For the rest of the turn, add X to the attack characteristics of melee weapons used by friendly Gorechosen champion units, where X is equal to the amount of mortal damage inflicted on this unit by this ability. For the rest of the battle, this unit you cannot use Hate-fueled Killer's ability and cannot be healed. Huh. Add X to that characteristic. Okay, I think that this is really good, comboing it with Strike First and all the extra stuff, right? Like, having a hero with 3 damage, the Deathbringer with 3 damage each have 7 attacks instead is kind of scary. And not just that, but if the Gorechosen heroes have a 4-up ward save, then they can just ward some of it if it goes over the line. Next, Blood Mist Skull. Unit has 3-up ward against shooting. It's okay, considering you have a 4-up ward save already. This is just a nice extra. Okay, so you can only summon the Wrath Axe in this Army of Renown. Prayer Lore is different. For one thing, they've got -1 to rend. Pick a second target on explosion, on supercharge. +1. They gave Meteor to this Army of Renown, Cowed and Broken. On an 8+ to chant, it's on a 3-up mortal damage. Eruption of Apoplexy. Pick a friendly Gorechosen champion priest to chant this prayer. Pick a visible enemy within 12. Inflict D6 mortal damage to them. If the target is destroyed before removing the last model in that unit from play, inflict D3 mortal damage on every friendly and enemy unit within 6 inches of that model, or D6 mortal damage instead of the chanting roll. D6 mortal damage to each unit within 6 if the chanting roll is 8+. Okay, I can see Khorne having a combo where, like, if a lot of things are close to death, then their prayers and their abilities will just do so much damage. Note that because this is a separate Army of Renown, it doesn't get access to the skill tree. So these are all the battle traits that you have. So that's why they had to show that blood-hungry weapons for champions are crit mortals, because that rule just won't apply. In a weird sort of way, it makes the normal units in this army weaker, but the heroes are way stronger. So it's kind of nuts. Alright, over to what I think is the last Army of Renown. The Baleful Lords. Any monster, hero, demon unit. So only Bloodthirsters and Scarbrand. No Regiments of Renown. Okay. This is probably my favorite, like, lore-wise Khorne battle formation, so I hope that this is good. Board of Butchery. Pick a friendly Baleful Lord unit that has been destroyed. Roll the number of dice equal to the number of units, friendly and enemy, that have been destroyed in this battle. If the roll contains 8 or more results of 4 up, Set up a replacement unit identical to the target unit on the battlefield. More than 9. Oh my god. So you can do this once per turn. So this becomes almost impossible to do, by the way. But if like you have 10 units that are destroyed, if you roll 8 or more results of 4 up, then I guess you can bring back a Bloodthirster. This becomes really hard to count on unless you're really lucky. If you're really lucky, then you're broken, essentially. Bellow of Hatred denies command abilities instead of using your normal Rampage for a Bloodthirster, which I think is really good, especially since a lot of Rampages are once per turn anyway, so this is just a net positive. Mage Eater. Make a Magic Eater roll of d6 when you're targeted by a spell ability. On a 3+, the spell is unbound. If the spell is unbound and the Magic Eater roll is 5 up, you deal d3 mortals to the caster. Okay, that's cute against Slann and shit. First in his sight. Once per turn, end of enemy turn. All Bloodthirsters heal d3 while in combat. Oh, this is only end of enemy turn for whatever reason. So if you don't run away from them, then they heal, which is hilarious. So what's cool with this is you could technically, if you counter charge, you could do this, heal, and then power through out, which is funny. End of your own turn. Pick a friendly Baleful Lord unit that has not used the Rampage ability to use this. So this is another alternative Rampage. That unit can move d6. It can end that move in combat, but only with units that it was in combat with at the start of the phase. Okay. If that unit destroyed enemy unit this turn, then you can do another thing instead. You can move 2d6. It can end in... okay, so you can move d6. Only in combat with enemy units it's in combat with in the first place. It's okay. Oh, but it can move into combat if it destroyed an enemy unit. Okay, yeah, this is pretty good. Drawn in Blood is pretty good. I take back what I said. I read that whole thing properly this time. What is this? Oh, there's more battle traits for Baleful Lords. Okay, next. You must use this ability. Pick each friendly Baleful Lord unit that did not charge or use a fight ability this turn to be the target. On a D3, on a 2+, inflict 1 mortal damage. So, at the end of your own turn, I take 1 mortal damage if I didn't charge or fight this turn. So, that puts an interesting clock, and it kind of telegraphs what the army should do, which is just go Unga Bunga all the way. Next, Sunder the Sorceress. I like the names. Whoever wrote the names for this tome should get a raise. Pick each enemy manifestation within 3 inches of a Baleful Lord to be a target. End of any turn, roll 2d6. If it equals the banishment value, then it's banished. And d3 mortal damage on enemy units that summon the target. I think that this ability is really good because there are times if you're only having like 4 to 5 Bloodthirsters in an army and your opponent just wants to constantly delay you by throwing manifestations in front of you, then this is a good way to just straight up stop that, you know? Really good stuff. Heroic trait. There's only 1 trait. Add 1 to the attack characteristics of friendly Baleful Lord units while they're within 12 inches of this unit. Sure, that's pretty good. You pair that with the Wrath of Khorne, so you can add +2, I guess, to the attacks. Not bad, especially on a Boomthirster, which will have 7 attacks. Next, Crown of the Slaughterborn. This is such a cool name. Each unit within 12 inches of this unit cannot be healed. It cannot have slain models returned to them. Okay. I am so excited to play against those crazy Soul Blight armies and anything that can heal. Crown of the Slaughterborn, super sick. I actually want to play this army like in the tournament just to see how it does. See if it's for fun. Regiment of Renown. Scarbrand can be a Regiment of Renown option for Tzeentch, Maggot Kid of Nurgle, even Slanesh for some reason. Skaven and Slaves to Darkness. And I think that he's a good addition for Maggotkin or any army that has a need to go into combat early, but without the battle traits, obviously a bit weaker. You must use this ability if this unit is not in combat. What is this? Hatred for all. Okay, so if he's in combat range of a friendly unit and he's not in combat with an enemy unit, then he needs to attack them. So he needs to go off on his own, which is hilarious. So if there's a way to cheat move him into a unit, then there is a chance that he kills your opponent's army, which is funny. The Red Revelation, which is the new ROR box with Skull Reapers, 10 Blood Reavers, and a Slaughter Priest. So Here are the abilities for it. Frenzied Violence. Oh, for the record, it can be in a Zinj, Maggotkin, Slanesh, Skaven, and Slaves. Really weird that they can be included in Slanesh, but yeah, whatever. Frenzied Violence, chanted on a 4. Until the start of your next turn, the target unit has 5 up ward, while every model in that unit is wholly within combat range of an enemy unit. Okay, so you can give the ward to the Blood Reavers or the Skull Reapers. Okay, that's okay. It makes them... If this is a cheap unit, Regiment of Renown, then it's kind of useful, I guess. Next, Glimpse the God. Once end of any turn, pick each unit in this Regiment of Renown that used a fight ability this turn to be the target. If any damage points were allocated to an enemy unit by the target's combat attacks this turn, that enemy unit was destroyed this turn, and no damage points were allocated to the enemy unit this turn by combat attacks made by friendly units that is not in this Regiment of Renown for the rest of the battle. Add 2 to the attack characteristics of the target's blood-hungry weapons. I think that this one's okay, especially with the Reapers being crit 2 hits now, and this being a net buff. It means that the Blood Reavers have 4 attacks per model now. So I guess it's okay. It's kind of underwhelming. I think the Scarbrand one sees a lot of play, especially with 3d6 counter charge and its ability to just straight up destroy everything in its path. So yeah, that was the entire Blades of Khorne Battletome. I'm not used to making these really long reviews, but I'm giving this a shot anyway. I hope you guys had fun and you guys like the new tome. I really like all the changes. I can't wait to play both Armies of Renown. I can't wait to play with the new skill tree. I think Murderlust being gone is okay because it was such an anti-fun mechanic. And now I can't wait to play with this army that slowly progresses like an RPG character over time. If you enjoy this kind of content, give us a like, give us a sub, and I hope to see you guys in the next video and see you guys like taking skulls for Khorne in the battlefields of the Mortal Realms. Have a good one, take care, and bye.